Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. It is Sunday, and that means it's time for the weekly recap of all the top stories that we brought you throughout the week. But they're all conveniently located in one location. We hope you enjoy the show. We'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day.
Hi, lawyer.
And first on the docket, yes, the case of Brian Kohberger. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we'll give Brian Kohberger the presumption of innocence, for those 4 murder counts and 1 burglary count. But he has got some twisted fans who are infatuated by this guy, and I just don't get it. It has descended into a frenzy after his new mugshot was published last week. Yep, check it out. His mugshot, that's supporting the tizzy, which makes the fans of the alleged quadruple murderer give their seal of approval. Now, as we know, Brian Kohberger is accused of stabbing 4 University of Idaho students to death in 2022. Here we are. We're still waiting. But maybe next summer we're going to have a trial. So anyway, as you know, if you've been following this program, the change of venue was granted and Kohberger was moved from Lake County to Ada County. And he got a private ride because, hey, that's who he is, Brian Kohberger. He doesn't just get a back of a white creeper van going across the interstate. No. He gets to fly on the state of Idaho Police Department's King Air because, like I said, that's who he is. Anyway, he was transferred into the Ada County Jail last week. And, of course, when you get booked in, you get a new mugshot. And, of course, who wanted it? Everybody. And so it has now been published. And yes, everyone is going crazy about it. Who would have thought? Anyway, so apparently this mugshot with his unkept beard, stubble, I don't know, he looks like he's homeless to me, and his bloodshot eyes here. Anyway, but there are actually Facebook groups set up to support Brian Kohberger, who has a horde of female fans and have since come to his defense and praised how good looking he looks in his mugshot. One Facebook person, user, I guess, described him as hot. He looks like a movie star. That scruff is so good looking on him, a second woman added. I know, can't make this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. A third person questioned, is this real? He looks handsome. Another wrote, he looks like he's been on holiday. Relaxed, calm, and well looked after. One Facebook user noted, I'm not seeing any stress. In another group called Justice for Brian Kohberger, one person claimed, he has no murderous eyes, man, because I do believe, old chap, that he is innocent. Now, Brian Kohberger has already got quite a fan following, which once again just never seems to blow my mind. Anyway, apparently at the jail, he's received handwritten love letters, in colored envelopes while he's been in custody in Latah County. People at the jail in Ada County have not said if he's been receiving anything, but many people that work in the jail find it quite disturbing. Apparently he gets these letters a couple times a week. They're usually handwritten with hearts and stars on these colored envelopes, according to the correctional officers. And everyone in the jail apparently talks about how weird that is. Now, it's unclear what the letters say, but it appears from many they are from people who believe that he is innocent, or they are confessing their love for Brian Kohberger. One lady by the name of Brittany Highslope, who's apparently a single mom from Kentucky, penned a love letter and sent revealing photos to Mr. Kohberger. Now, Highslope called Kohberger her divine masculine counterpart and twin flame, and would often express her infatuation with him on her own Facebook page. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we'll give Kohberger the presumption of innocence. I think he's got really competent counsel. I think he's probably going to be convicted, but I think the prosecution has an opportunity to blow it pretty badly based upon everything that I have seen thus far. We'll have to wait and see. We got to wait and see, right? We don't have a crystal ball, but we're going to have to wait and see what takes place. But we've talked about this before. I don't understand it. I will never understand it. All of the hardworking men out there, masculine men, according to what one lady was looking for, they have jobs. They go to work on a daily basis. They're responsible. They don't beat women. They don't go home drunk and beat their wives. A lot of good guys out there that can't find dates because women are spending their time and effort trying to date some dude that is probably going to spend the rest of his life in prison. I get it. If it's your soulmate, it is what it is. But why would you look for somebody in prison, be the person you think you want to spend the rest of your life with? Because in reality, you're not. Just something to think about. Next on the docket, the Boulder King super shooter gets sentenced. All right. So the gunman who killed 10 people, that's right, 10 people at a Colorado King's Supers, which is a supermarket here if they don't have them in your area, just up the road here from the CrimeTalk studios in Boulder, Colorado. Well, guess what? He has been sentenced to life in prison for murder after his family told the court that they thought he was possessed by an evil spirit. Well, Ahmad Alyssa attempted to avoid prison time by pleading not guilty by reason of insanity, and the jury shot those defenses down big time. He was found guilty of all 10 crimes, plus a bunch of sundry of other counts as well related to firearm offenses, as well as to people that were only injured and not killed in the case. So defense attorneys didn't dispute that Alyssa had schizophrenia, fatally shot 10 people, including in killing a police officer. Now, on the day of the attack, he drove from his home from a suburb here in the Denver area called Arvada, and then pulled into the first supermarket that he found in Boulder, and he shot 3 victims in the parking lot before entering the store. Now, there's an emergency room doctor that was in there that hid and told his story throughout the trial. We had a pharmacist who took cover, and she testified that she heard Alyssa say, "This is fun," at least 3 times as he went through the store firing his rifle. But the defense argued that he was insane at the time, and therefore he couldn't tell right from wrong. Well, like I said, he's one of the latest people. We talked about the lady in Mississippi yesterday who failed in their attempt to be acquitted by reason of insanity. So like I said, in addition to the 10 first-degree murder charges, the jury found Mr. Alyssa guilty of 38 charges of attempted murder, 1 count of assault, and 6 counts of possession of an illegal weapon, and including the large capacity magazine. We've seen that more and more here in Colorado. Anyway, Judge Ingrid Bakke, who is tough, career prosecutor, was one of the prosecutors on the Kobe Bryant case. She was on loan from Boulder, where now she is the judge. I believe she's actually the chief judge. Like I said, sentenced him to 10 life sentences without the possibility of parole, and another 1,334 years for all the other charges. Why? Because they were considered crimes of violence, separate victims, although the same offense, separate victims shall be sentenced consecutively, and therefore that's how you get up to that additional 10 life sentences plus 1,334 years, which means obviously he will never, ever get out. The judge told Mr. Alyssa this was not about mental illness. This was about brutal, intentional violence. Mr. Alyssa declined to make any statement through his attorneys at all. As noted at the sentencing, the prosecutors stated that Mr. Alyssa killed most of his victims in just over a minute, and then he surrendered after a police officer shot him in the leg because he needed medical assistance. Now, at the trial, the prosecutors had to prove that Alyssa was sane, right? It was an affirmative defense of guilty by reason of insanity. Affirmative defense saying, I did it, but I was justified. Or in this particular case, I had an excuse. So the prosecutors had to prove, like I said, that he was sane. Now, they argued he didn't fire randomly, and he showed an ability to make decisions by pursuing people who were running and trying to hide from him. Because there was video where he showed he twice passed a 91-year-old man who continued to shop who was unaware of the shooting. Now, he came armed with bullets and obviously large capacity magazines holding 30 rounds, which prosecutors said showed he wanted to make the attack as deadly as possible. Now, during deliberations, the jury asked to review the videos of Alyssa killing the victims, complying with the commands as he was arrested, and later being interviewed by a psychologist. Now, like I said, the family said he had mental health issues. Now, Mr. Alyssa was diagnosed with schizophrenia after the attack, And experts said the behavior described by relatives were consistent with one that had the onset of schizophrenia. Now, psychologists who evaluated Mr. Alyssa throughout these proceedings concluded that he was sane during the shooting. And guess what? The defense did not have to provide any evidence and did not present their own expert to say that Mr. Alyssa was insane. All they do is raise the defense, then the evaluations take place, we have a trial. So, despite the fact that he heard voices, the state psychologist said that Mr. Alyssa did not experience delusions. They said his fear he could be jailed or killed by police revealed that he knew and was aware of his actions. Mr. Alyssa repeatedly told the psychologist that he heard voices, including killing voices, right before the shooting. But Mr. Alyssa failed during about 6 hours of interviews to provide more details about the voices or whether they said anything specific. Now, mental illness is not the same as being insane. Colorado law defines insanity as having a mental disease so severe that it is impossible for the person to tell right from wrong. I'm telling you, not guilty by reason of insanity does not work very often. I can think of only one case that I have been able to have it be successful, and it was so obvious during that particular case, the prosecutors agreed, and we sent the defendant off to the mental health hospital. It's very, very tough when you can show planning and you were aware of the consequences. That's not insanity. It's just you don't like being caught, I guess, at this point anymore. Next, violent gangs from Venezuela. Their arrests have been made and gang affiliations confirmed. That's right. Police in Aurora, Colorado, not far from here. We are in Adams County, Colorado. Then you got Denver. And then as you head east, you get to Aurora, Colorado. Police in Aurora, Colorado have charged 3 suspects from the viral video that showed heavily armed men breaking into an apartment and a clip that made the Denver suburb a household name and associated with migrant crime. Now, one of the men has now admitted that he is a member of the violent Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, and federal law enforcement sources have stated that despite the local police saying none of the men were, in fact, connected to the gangs, they are. Now, Nefred Serpa Acosta apparently admitted during an interview with the immigration authorities after he was asked if he had any gang affiliation by immigration officers that he was Tren de Aragua because he had the signature crown tattoo to prove it. That's right, a little tattoo on his neck. Now, I have received from very reliable sources that Aragua is a state in the country of Venezuela, and that these are really bad guys. You don't want them as neighbors, and you certainly don't want them as a gang. All right, we'll leave it as that. So apparently all 3 of the men arrested have rather lengthy rap sheets, even though they've only been in the state for a very short amount of time. Now, these 3 have been seen wielding guns in this surveillance video taken in late August at the Colorado apartment complex that was overrun, allegedly, by a violent Venezuelan prison gang as they broke into the unit. Now, then 10 minutes later, they were allegedly involved in a shooting that left 1 person dead. The 2 other suspects are Anderson Zambrano Pacheco and Nadi Lopez Fernandez, both of whom crossed the border illegally last year and were quickly released into the United States, according to ICE. The pair has also had multiple arrests in Colorado, but no evidence confirmed that they were a member of the gang as of yet. So sources said Acosta has been arrested at least 3 times in Colorado in the last 2 years. He was first arrested in June of 2023 for theft, then in April of 2024 for theft, and then again in May for theft, as well as resisting arrest and obstruction of a police officer. It's unclear why he was released each time. Well, I can tell you why, because those are basically minor offenses, just like they are now in parts of Oregon, California, and nobody cares. You're given a summons and told to go to court. Back in the day, you'd be arrested. Things have changed, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, what do I keep saying? Oh, that's right. You get more of what you tolerate. Anyway, Acosta initially entered the United States by crossing the border into El Paso, Texas, illegally in December of 2022, then volunteered to leave and return back to Mexico, according to immigration sources. And it's not clear when he re-entered in the United States. Well, no. Would that mean that he would be referred to as a gotaway if the United States government doesn't know when he crossed the border? Yes, I think he would. That is what they call that. Anyway, Mr. Acosta is currently in ICE custody and is set to appear before an immigration judge this coming week. Now, 3 other people seen in the video have yet to be identified and are believed to be at large. Now, as you may recall, the Aurora Police Chief, Todd Chamberlain, recently told reporters that police haven't found any ties whatsoever, any gangs among the suspects, but emphasized that it's really difficult to figure that out because it's not like we can pick up the phone and ask somebody in Venezuela if they're a member of the Tren de Aragua gang and find out who is and who isn't, unless, of course, they self-admit. But many of these individuals were talking about coming from a country which does not have a strong relationship with the United States. And they come here, and like I said, they don't have that database that they can just pick up the phone and call. Now, many migrants from Venezuela have poured into the city of Aurora, right next door, and the gang members have apparently come with them. Last month, the city launched a task force to study and combat the violent gang, and the former ICE director in Denver has stated that the sanctuary laws limit local law enforcement communications with ICE in Colorado, and those are to blame. So that's rather interesting, ladies and gentlemen. And don't get me wrong. I mean, who wouldn't want to come to the United States of America? Best country in the world, most freedom. I get it. You need to do it legally, and when you get here, you need to not break the law. I know when I've traveled abroad, I go to great extremes to make sure I'm not violating the law in the country in which I am traveling. That would be disrespectful, and I don't want to spend time in a foreign prison. Let's face it, right? So you got to do it legally, and then you got to follow the rules. I think they call that assimilation. But the reality of it is, if these people are committing crime, we'll give them the presumption of innocence, but don't commit crime. That's the general rule of thumb, ladies and gentlemen, because there's lots of good people that come to the United States every day, every year. And like I said, who wouldn't? Greatest country in the world. Think I'm wrong? Go ask some of the people that want to come here. They'll tell you, we've got our flaws, but it's a pretty good place to hang out. And I think the word of the day is corruption. That's right. Last night, a federal grand jury returned an indictment against the sitting New York City mayor, Eric Adams. Now, there's been a wide-ranging corruption investigation for the last several months, and it's included several top officials resigning in the recent weeks. Now, Adams has become now the first New York mayor to be charged criminally while sitting in office. Now, according to prosecutors, Eric Adams accepted an array of luxury gifts and amenities from foreign governments who hoped to buy influence from him. This included free trips, hotel suites, and airline upgrades valued at over $100,000. For example, he allegedly accepted free business class upgrades with companies for flights from New York to France, Turkey, Sri Lanka, and China back in July of 2017. That same month, he also allegedly enjoyed a hugely discounted stay at the Bentley Suites at the St. Regis Hotel in Istanbul, $3,500 per night. But guess what? The mayor only paid $300 per night. Now, another alleged incident came as one of Adams' staffers made a reservation for a flight to Turkey on the day of the 2021 New York City Democratic primary. According to prosecutors, when the airline suggested he stay at the Four Seasons, the staffer said that'd be a little too expensive, to which the airline responded, "Why does he care? He's not going to pay." The airline manager allegedly added that Adams' name will not be on anything either, to which the staffer responded, "Super." Now, Eric Adams held a press conference outside the Gracie Mansion shortly after the federal indictment against him was unsealed on Thursday, obviously professing his innocence, stating that he's done nothing wrong, that he works for the voters of New York City, and this is all because he went against the federal government's immigration policies. Yep, that's it. That's what he said. He also says that his day-to-day is not going to change and that his lawyer will take care of the case. Now, it's also alleged that the mayor, not only did he take certain contributions in the form of upgrades and free gifts and travel, but the mayor also fraudulently obtained as much as $2,000 in public funds for each illegal contribution that was made. He was allegedly relying on the concealed nature of these illegal contributions from people outside of the country to go to a construction company to be paid, and then he would get matching funds from the state, for the city, I mean. And guess what? His campaign received $10 million in public funds, allegedly illegally. Like I said, he painted himself as a victim. He's being persecuted for being indicted on federal charges, saying that he's been singled out by the Biden administration for his stance on the migrant crisis. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of thoughts on this. I'm a firm believer that oftentimes politics is nothing but a large money laundering operation. That's really all it is. How do we get money from one person to another person, whether it's from the donor to the politician or from the government to the donors of the politician? That's all it really is. What have we said before on this show program many times? The goal of any politician is to loot the treasury and to enrich their friends. The people donating the money, they're paying that money not because they're just good guys and they're really interested. No, they're expecting something in return. Access, influence, favors, contracts. That's just the way it is. And I've also said this, and I think this should go for all people in government, public servants. They should be there to be a public servant. They should not get rich while they're in office, while Mayor Adams is wearing $6,000 suits on a public service salary. I don't know. Why does that not raise flags to anyone? It should. Politicians shouldn't receive trips unless they can pay for it themselves. They shouldn't get scholarships from various organizations that are nothing more than lobbyist-paid, exotic, expensive hotel retreats so that the lobbyists can have one-on-one time with these people, all under the guise of it as some sort of learning expedition. So, yeah, if Mayor Adams, in my humble opinion, was taking upgrades, guess what? He should go to prison. You may think, well, it's an upgrade. No, he's a public servant. He's a public servant. He's there to serve the public. And the reason why public servants shouldn't stick around very long is because they were never going to get paid long enough to make it a career and then move along. Okay? That's just the way I think it should be. We need people that go do their job, don't make any money, and they have to go back to the community in which they live, which is kind of the way it was all set up. Not you're going to go get elected to office, then become a lobbyist and never go back to the community that you were supposedly there to represent. And don't get me wrong, both sides are guilty of it. And nobody, if they want to go to public service, you don't get to write books, you don't get to do speaking gigs unless it's $0 and you are volunteering your time and travel and you're paying at your own expense. Bottom line, don't think anybody in public service should get zilch. And let me give you an example of an experience that I had. Went to dinner once. It was a friend's birthday celebration. And one of the individuals that showed up was a sitting judge. And the bill came, and one of the people at the table said, I got the bill. And nobody would have said a word. Frankly, didn't even cross my mind at the time. And the judge says, nope, I am paying for my meal individually. He said, I just don't want any appearance of impropriety. I don't want to ever be accused of anything. I want to be completely beyond reproach that he did everything by the book. And he paid his bill that night. Like I said, nobody would have thought about it. It was just a bunch of people getting together, and one person was going to pay the bill. But that's what a true public servant should do, be beyond reproach. But we don't have that on either party. Next on the docket. I said this yesterday, and I'm going to say it again just because I think that the attorney for Sean P. Did He Do It Combs just needs to shut up. All right? Now, Costco, you know, the big retailer club, right? Everybody's, not everybody, but, you know, a lot of people have Costco memberships. I've got a Costco membership. All right? Well, they issued a statement saying that none of the U.S. warehouses sold baby oil in bulk to Sean Combs, in furtherance of the hip-hop mogul's alleged freak-off sex parties that have become the centerpiece, obviously, of the federal criminal trial or case against Mr. Combs. Now, there was a report on Thursday that Costco had raised objections to its brand name being associated with Combs' alleged crimes, with the spokesperson telling the news and gossip sites that none of its members-only locations carry baby oil. This became kind of a big deal because TMZ confirmed this assertion by not finding baby oil among the products listed on any of the Costco websites. So over the past weeks, Combs' attorney, this Mark Agniflio, invoked Costco's name while trying to come up with a not so nefarious explanation for why his client would possess such a massive supply of baby oil. And he kind of quipped, he buys it in bulk from Costco? Are you serious? Like, seriously, that's maybe the comment that you make, in your office. Oh, he's a guy that he buys in bulk. Maybe something you say off the cuff with the prosecutors. But in today's day and age, for an attorney to go out there on a high-profile case and say something like that, guess what? All the internet sleuths are going to go check that out. And in this particular case, Costco shut him down. And it just makes him look silly. So all this came about, obviously, in the indictment of Sean Combs. Homeland Security, when they raided Sean Combs' residence, they found 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant when they raided his mansions in Los Angeles and Miami. Now, obviously, the prosecutors are alleging that Mr. Combs would lure and coerce women to engage in sexual performances with male sex workers for him to watch and record, sometimes without their knowledge. Like I said, during this interview with TMZ, Combs' attorneys tried to cast doubt on the U.S. attorney's accounting of the baby oil and said, I don't know where that 1,000 bottles, where they may have come from. Just why is that attorney out there making the rounds other than looking for his 15 minutes of fame? Don't do it, ladies and gentlemen. You don't do it. Maybe if you have something to say after the case is over, but not while the case is pending, are you going to comment on that?